Sox Nation, it's a kind of a family. Wherever I roam, up and way home, that's where I long to be. I'm a member of a Red Sox Nation, it's a kind of insanity. Yeah, I live and die with Red Sox pride for eternity. I fake a smile November until opening day, suffering baseball withdrawal around the clock. When April comes, hey, meet me down on Yawkey Way. That's when Red Sox Nation starts to rock.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 70 of the Avid Boston Podcast, presented by AVIDBOSTON.com. For those of you staying up late this week on Periscope and for the first time ever Facebook Live, you can find this podcast uploaded to SoundCloud within 30 minutes of the conclusion of this broadcast. You can find it on iTunes by your AM commute. You can also find it on YouTube, Spreaker, Player FM, and iHeartRadio. And then at the links of each video on Facebook and Periscope, you can also, that will direct you to the link to the podcast section of avidboston.com, and you can find it there in a couple of formats. That's a really easy way to do it, actually. I am Terry Cushman, if you've never tuned in before, and I am joined, as always, by Austin Hartsfield. You can find him on Twitter at HartsfieldMLB. He is one half of the Double Coverage podcast, and that can be found on Twitter. Austin, how are you?
I'm good, Terry. How about you?
You look like you're, barely holding it together, man.
Chris is just cracking me up. He's got his damn video up.
Yeah, I'm trying not to look at it. Yeah, so good to have you. And as Austin just alluded to, we are joined this week by Chris Saunders. Dave Kwiatkowski, a little under the weather. Chris has been on the show several times. You can find him on Twitter at _smoke_Saunders. He does play-by-play and media relations for the Bristol Blues, which are an independent team in the FCBO. Feel free to correct me if I botched that one, Chris. And he is also the sports director for 1320 AM WATR out of Waterbury, Connecticut. So, Chris, thanks for coming off the bench tonight.
Oh, no problem. And Terry, it's a collegiate team in the FCBL, Futures Collegiate Baseball League.
FCBL?
FCBL.
Yep. Okay. I had a feeling I botched it. That's why I'm a minor league podcaster. I'm a minor league podcaster. Anyway, okay, so I'm just going to get right into the recap here. Red Sox started a series with the Toronto Blue Jays on Tuesday night. Drew Pomeranz got the start. So-so start for him. Pitched 4 2/3 innings, gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs. That's not bad, but what was bad was 5 walks, one of which came back to haunt him on a Devin Travis 2-run shot in the 3rd inning. Lucky for the Red Sox, JD Martinez hit a 3-run shot to put the Red Sox in the lead. I believe it was 5-2 at the time. And then later on, Craig Kimbrel came in to close a 1-run game, but Justin Smoke got to him and managed to tie it to force it into extras. Earlier in the game, Mitch Moreland hit a 3-run bomb. No, that was in extra innings, actually. 3-run bomb by Mitch Moreland in the 10th inning. Also, Jackie Bradley, a 2-run shot that same inning as well. Brian Johnson got the start in Game 2. pitched, I think it was 7 innings and change. I didn't write the stat down, my bad. Mitch Moreland continued to have a great series, drove in 2. Rafael Devers hit basically one of what's becoming his signature line drive home runs. That was a 2-run shot. Bogarts also drove in 3. Benintendi 1. The only runs put up by the Blue Jays was a 2-run shot by Randall Grichuk. And then in the 7th inning, Teoscar Hernandez hit a 3-run shot to bring up the next 3 runs, which kind of, in a way, spoiled it a little bit for Johnson, but still not a terrible start. And then Game 3, of course, tonight, Rick Porcello was an epic fucking horror show, as he was not even a month ago against the Blue Jays. He gave up 7 runs tonight after giving up 8 to them in his most recent start against them in July. Not a good night. Grichuk got to him again. Red Sox offense kind of kept him in it for a little while. JD Martinez went deep. Mookie ended up hitting for the cycle, but it was an 8-4 win tonight. So the Red Sox no longer undefeated for the month of August, but still having an epic summer, So basically, 2 out of 3 Red Sox will face the Orioles coming up. But to dive more into this series, we will get into a new segment called Shoutouts and Callouts. This is the 3rd show we have done this, and all 3 of us, one by one, will give a shout out to a player on the Red Sox, and then after that round is done, we'll do a call out to someone who did not have a good game, and so we'll go through it. Austin, why don't you start off with your shout out for this Toronto Blue Jays series?
All right, well, I took the layup. I picked JD Martinez. The man went 7 for 13 with 6 ribbies, just past Mookie in slugging, actually, prior to the home run. I don't know if that's the case now. And he's actually sneaking up on him in average and has a shot at the Triple Crown. Just so people know, RDH is hitting a higher average than Jose Altuve is right now. So take that into perspective and kind of look at that.
And really, I mean, if he can just be a little clutch in the postseason, that's basically Big Papi territory, at least for 1 year.
Absolutely.
I would definitely say so. Chris, who would you like to shout out for this series?
Well, I don't know if it's so much in the series, but I think overall, Ryan Brazier, I mean, you look at his stats right now, 12 games he's appeared, a 1.32 ERA, 13.2 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts, and that's a whip of 0.95. I got to tell you, Terry, as a guy who has seen multiple relievers countless over and over again this year, I know the Red Sox didn't technically acquire that sexy pitcher that everybody wanted, like a Britton, or even like today, Rodney was acquired by the A's, along with Familia back before the trade deadline ended. But this is almost like an acquisition, and he could very well, I mean, we always mention about the championships, how certain players kind of rise to the occasion. You kind of need guys that are not very well known, and maybe he's one that can be your guy if Kimbrel or Barnes or Thornburg, they falter in the playoffs.
Definitely. I mean, I've been saying that this bullpen depth is sneaky good. However, it's mostly just depth guys. And with Kimbrel, we simply need him to perform, to the way he was. And I'll get into him in just a second, but Brazier definitely, as you pointed out, has been a pleasant surprise because he certainly wasn't on anybody's radar before about 5 weeks ago. So I will do my shout out for Sandy Leon. That's mostly a defensive shout out. He has been extremely solid. as a catcher. He's been calling good games. David Price has a sub-3 ERA when Sandy Leon is catching him. Red Sox are 26-2. That's their streak right now with Sandy, and their second loss obviously only came tonight. He had a hell of a defensive play where a bunt was going down the third base line, and he managed to snag it before it drifted, beyond the foul line, and then simultaneously tagged out the runner trying to score home. It was a fun play, and as Alex Cora said, you just don't really get a chance to do something like that, and it was really fun to watch. And tonight I also noticed there was a throw home that didn't quite get it, and then Sandy managed to ship the ball to second, and I think that was Devin Travis slid into the bag but then popped off, and just a hell of an assist by Leon, and it's certainly been fun to watch, especially since Christian Vasquez has typically gotten all the glory, as far as the defense goes. So, I'm a Sandy guy, so it was certainly fun to see. Austin, who would you like to call out?
Everybody just needs to take a step back, breathe a little bit, and just realize how bad Brock Holt's been at the plate these last 30 games plus. I mean, in his last 7, prior to the hit tonight, he was hitting .037 in those last 7 games, obviously. He got the RBI single tonight. That helped out a little bit. But he only has 19 hits in his last 100 at-bats and hasn't exactly been spectacular on defense. I know we're handcuffed a little bit, just simple fact that we don't have a lot of depth at this point at the second base position because of injuries. But once Kinsler comes back, I wouldn't mind not seeing Brock for another month.
Yeah, and I mean, Nunez has been hitting pretty well, and I don't know. I mean, are we going to be able to keep everybody? Well, I guess rosters do expand, so I guess maybe where there's a will, there's a way. But
they'll find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see, the shift.
He's a cheerleader. He's basically what Tony Kemp is to the Astros. He's the guy that you hug after you get a home run.
Right.
For some reason, that's necessary in the dugout, but I guess you need that glue guy.
True, but I mean, with Devers back now, you have, let's see, on your bench, assuming Devers is going to start, and just say Kinsler is going to start, which we think will be soon. So you can have only, 4 guys on your bench? So you got Moreland, Pierce, Moreland, Pierce, Holt, Nunez. I feel like there's someone else in there.
A backup catcher, Swihart.
Yeah, they'll just send back down Butler at that point. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to fit, but I guess having this much depth is a nice luxury to have. Actually, because I know Chris is going to go a little outside the box. Let me just kind of cut in line here and do mine real quick. My shout out, obviously, Craig Kimbrel continues to be a little heart attacky. In the 9th inning, guys aren't swinging at his rising fastball, and I mean, who can blame them if it's a tough pitch to hit and they know it's not going to be a strike? Why not lay off of it? And that's exactly what they are doing. And he just doesn't seem to trust his slider or anything else to get guys out. So that's leading to a lot of walks and hits, when his fastball is a little lower in the zone. And he's a choke artist anyway. I mean, the postseason in Game 4 of the ALDS ended essentially when Craig Kimbrel could not, hold that lead that the Red Sox had to force Game 5. So, and then didn't he coughed up the, 1-game wild card with the Braves, didn't he?
I believe so. That would probably be a Chris question.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And so just not a good record, kind of like David Price light in the postseason. And he's a guy like tonight. I was kind of hoping he would get a chance to go in there. And last night with who closed out, Kelly closed it out, who seems to be kind of going in the right direction, but had some nervous moments with runners on first